National Education Policy 2020. Introduction. Education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. Providing universal access to quality education is the key to India's continued ascent and leadership on the global stage in terms of economic growth, social justice and equality, scientific advancement, national integration and cultural preservation. Universal high-quality education is the best way forward for developing and maximizing our country's rich talents and resources, for the good of the individual, the society, the country, and the world. India will have the highest population of young people in the world over the next decade, and our ability to provide high-quality educational opportunities to them will determine the future of our country. The Global Education Development Agenda, reflected in the Goal 4 SDG 4 of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted by India in 2015, seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. Such a lofty goal will require the entire education system to be reconfigured to support and foster learning so that all of the critical targets and goals SDGs of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development can be achieved. The world is undergoing rapid changes in the knowledge landscape. With various dramatic scientific and technological advances such as the rise of big data, machine learning and artificial intelligence, many unskilled jobs worldwide may be taken over by machines, while the need for a skilled workforce, particularly involving mathematics, computer science and data science, in conjunction with multidisciplinary abilities across the sciences, social sciences and humanities, will be increasingly in greater demand. With climate change increasing pollution and depleting natural resources, there will be a sizable shift in how we meet the world's energy, water, food and sanitation needs, again resulting in the need for new skilled labor, particularly in biology, chemistry, physics, agriculture, climate science, and social science. The growing emergence of epidemics and pandemics will also call for collaborative research in infectious disease management and development of vaccines, and the resultant social issues heightens the need for multidisciplinary learning. There will be a growing demand for humanities and art as India moves towards becoming a developed country, as well as among the 3 largest economies in the world. Indeed, with the quickly changing employment landscape and global ecosystem, it is becoming increasingly critical that children not only learn, but more importantly learn how to learn. Education thus must move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. Pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and of course enjoyable. The curriculum must include basic arts, crafts, humanities, games, sports and fitness, languages, literature, culture and values, in addition to science and mathematics, to develop all aspects and capabilities of learners and make education more well-rounded, useful and fulfilling to the learner. Education must build character, enable learners to be ethical, rational, compassionate and caring, while at the same time prepare them for gainful, fulfilling employment. The gap between the current state of learning outcomes and what is required must be bridged through undertaking major reforms that bring the highest quality, equity, and integrity into the system, from early childhood care and education through higher education. The aim must be for India to have an education system by 2040 that is second to none, with equitable access to the highest quality education for all learners regardless of social or economic background. This National Education Policy 2020 is the first education policy of the 21st century and aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our country. This policy proposes the revision and revamping of all aspects of the education structure, including its regulation and governance, to create a new system that is aligned with the aspirational goals of 21st century education, including SDG 4, while building upon India's traditions and value systems. The National 3. National Education Policy 2020. Education policy lays particular emphasis on the development of the creative potential of each individual. It is based on the principle that education must develop not only cognitive capacities, both the foundational capacities of literacy and numeracy, and higher-order cognitive capacities, such as critical thinking and problem-solving, but also social, ethical, and emotional capacities and dispositions. The rich heritage of ancient and eternal Indian knowledge and thought has been a guiding light for this policy. The pursuit of knowledge, Jnana, wisdom, prajna, and truth, satya, was always considered in Indian thought and philosophy as the highest human goal. The aim of education in ancient India was not just the acquisition of knowledge as preparation for life in this world or life beyond schooling, but for the complete realization and liberation of the self. World-class institutions of ancient India such as Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Vallabhi set the highest standards of multidisciplinary teaching and research and hosted scholars and students from across backgrounds and countries. The Indian education system produced great scholars such as Karika, Susruta, Aryabhatta, Viramira, Bhaskaracharya, Brahmagupta, Chanakya, Chakrapani, Data, Madhava, Panani, Patanjali, Nagarjuna, Gautama, Pingala, Sankadev, Maitri, Gargi, and Thovalava, among numerous others who made seminal contributions to world knowledge in diverse fields such as mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, medical science and surgery, civil engineering, architecture, shipbuilding and navigation, yoga, fine arts, chess, and more. Indian culture and philosophy have had a strong influence on the world. These rich legacies to world heritage must not only be nurtured. Panani, Patanjali, Nagarjuna, Gautama, Pingala, Sankadev, Maitri, Gargi, and Thovalava, among numerous others who made seminal contributions to world knowledge in diverse fields such as mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, medical science and surgery, civil engineering, architecture, shipbuilding and navigation, yoga, fine arts, chess, and more. Indian culture and philosophy have had a strong influence on the world. These rich legacies to world heritage must not only be nurtured and preserved for posterity, but also researched, enhanced, and put to new uses through our education system. The teacher must be at the center of the fundamental reforms in the education system. The new education policy must help re-establish teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential members of our society, because they truly shape our next generation of citizens. It must do everything to empower teachers and help them to do their job as effectively as possible. The new education policy must help recruit the very best and brightest to enter the teaching profession at all levels by ensuring livelihood, respect, dignity, and autonomy, while also instilling in the system basic methods of quality control and accountability. The new education policy must provide to all students, irrespective of their place of residence, a quality education system with particular focus on historically marginalized, disadvantaged, and underrepresented groups. Education is a great leveler and is the best tool for achieving economic and social mobility, inclusion, and equality. Initiatives must be in place to ensure that all students from such groups, despite inherent obstacles, are provided various targeted opportunities to enter and excel in the educational system. These elements must be incorporated taking into account the local and global needs of the country, and with a respect for and deference to its rich diversity and culture. Instilling knowledge of India and its varied social, cultural, and technological needs, its inimitable artistic language and knowledge traditions, and these elements must be incorporated taking into account the local and global needs of the country, and with a respect for and deference to its rich diversity and culture. Instilling knowledge of India and its varied social, cultural, and technological needs, its inimitable artistic language and knowledge traditions, and its strong ethics in India's young people is considered critical for purposes of national pride, self-confidence, self-knowledge, cooperation, and integration. Previous policies. The implementation of previous policies on education has focused largely on issues of access and equity. The unfinished agenda of the National Policy on Education, 1986, modified in 1992, N. 1986-90, is appropriately dealt with in this policy. A major development since the last policy of 1986-90 has been the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009, which laid down legal underpinnings for achieving universal elementary education. Principles of this policy. The purpose of the education system is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action, possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper, and National Education Policy 2020 creative imagination, with sound ethical moorings and values. It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society as envisaged by our Constitution. A good education institution is one in which every student feels welcomed and cared for, where a safe and stimulating learning environment exists, where a wide range of learning experiences are offered, and where good physical infrastructure and appropriate resources conducive to learning are available to all students. Attaining these qualities must be the goal of every educational institution. However, at the same time, there must also be seamless integration and coordination across institutions and across all stages of education. The fundamental principles that will guide both the education system at large as well as the individual institutions within it are recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as parents to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres, according the highest priority to achieving foundational literacy and numeracy by all students by grade 3 flexibility, so that learners have the ability to choose their learning trajectories and programs, and thereby choose their own paths in life according to their talents and interests. No hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams, etc. In order to eliminate harmful hierarchies among and silos between different areas of learning, multidisciplinarity and a holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, and sports for a multidisciplinary world, in order to ensure the unity and integrity of all knowledge, emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams, creativity and critical thinking to encourage logical decision making and innovation, ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, democratic spirit, spirit of service, respect for public property, scientific temper, liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality and justice, promoting multilingualism and the power of language in teaching and learning, life skills such as communication, cooperation, teamwork and resilience. Focus on regular formative assessment for learning rather than the summative assessment that encourages today's coaching culture, extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers, increasing access for Divyang students, and educational planning and management, respect for diversity and respect for the local context in all curriculum, pedagogy and policy, always keeping in mind that education is a concurrent subject for equity and inclusion as the cornerstone of all educational decisions to ensure that all students are able to thrive in the education system, synergy in curriculum across all levels of education from early childhood care and education to school education to higher education, teachers and faculty as the heart of the learning process, their recruitment, continuous professional development, positive working environments and service conditions, a light but tight regulatory framework to ensure integrity, transparency and resource efficiency of the educational system through audit and public disclosure, while encouraging innovation and out-of-the-box ideas through autonomy, good governance and empowerment, outstanding research as a prerequisite for outstanding education and development, continuous review of progress based on sustained research, and regular assessment by educational experts. 5. National Education Policy 2020, a rootedness and pride in India and its rich, diverse, ancient and modern culture. National Education Policy 2020, a rootedness and pride in India and its rich, diverse, ancient and modern culture and knowledge systems and traditions. Education is a public service. Access to quality education must be considered a basic right of every child. Substantial investment in a strong, vibrant public education system, as well as the encouragement and facilitation of true philanthropic private and community participation. The vision of this policy. This national education policy envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high-quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The policy envisages that the curriculum and pedagogy of our institutions must develop among the students a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental duties and constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and a conscious awareness of one's roles and responsibilities in a changing world. The vision of the policy is to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought but also in spirit, intellect and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. Part 1. School education. This policy envisages that the extant 10+2 structure in school education will be modified with a new pedagogical and curricular restructuring of 5+3+3+4 covering ages 3 to 18 as shown in the representative figure, and elaborated in detail later under Chapter 4. Previous academic structure. New pedagogical and curricular structure 2-4 ages 16-18 class 9-12 ages 14-18 3 class 6-8 ages 11-14 10 ages 6-16 3 class 3-5 ages 8-11 2 years class 1 and 2 ages 6-8 3 years Anganwadi / pre-school / Balvatika ages 3-6 secondary, middle, preparatory, foundational. National Education Policy 2020. Currently, children in the age group of 3 to 6 are not covered in the 10+2 structure, as Class 1 begins at age 6. In the new 5+3+3+4 structure, a strong base of early childhood care and education (ECE) from age 3 is also included, which is aimed at promoting better overall learning development and well-being. 1. Early childhood care and education, the foundation of learning 1.1. Over 85% of a child's cumulative brain development occurs prior to the age of 6, indicating the critical importance of appropriate care and stimulation of the brain in the early years, in order to ensure healthy brain development and growth. Presently, quality ECE is not available to crores of young children, particularly children from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Strong investment in ECE has the potential to give all young children such access, enabling them to participate and flourish in the educational system throughout their lives. Universal provisioning of quality early childhood development care and education must thus be achieved as soon as possible, and no later than 2030 to ensure that all students entering grade 1 are school-ready. 1.2. ECE ideally consists of flexible, multifaceted, multi-level play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning comprising of alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, indoor and outdoor play, puzzles and logical thinking, problem-solving, drawing, painting and other visual art, craft, drama and puppetry, music and movement. It also includes a focus on developing social capacities, sensitivity, good behavior, courtesy, ethics, personal and public cleanliness, teamwork, and cooperation. The overall aim of ECE will be to attain optimal outcomes in the domains of physical and motor development, cognitive development, socio-emotional ethical development, cultural/artistic development, and the development of communication and early language literacy and numeracy. 1.3. A national curricular and pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education (NCPs) for children up to the age of 8 will be developed by NCET in two parts, namely a sub-framework for 0 to 3-year-olds and a sub-framework for 3 to 8-year-olds aligned with the above guidelines, the latest research on ECE, and national and international best practices. In particular, the numerous rich local traditions of India developed over millennia in ECE involving art, stories, poetry, games, songs and more, will also be suitably incorporated. The framework will serve as a guide both for parents and for early childhood care and education institutions. 1.4. The overarching. Currently, children in the age group of 3 to 6 are not covered in the 10+2 structure, as Class 1 begins at age 6. In the new 5+3+3+4 structure, a strong base of early childhood care and education (ECE) from age 3 is also included, which is aimed at promoting better overall learning development and well-being. 1. Early childhood care and education, the foundation of learning 1.1. Over 85% of a child's cumulative brain development occurs prior to the age of 6, indicating the critical importance of appropriate care and stimulation of the brain in the early years, in order to ensure healthy brain development and growth. Presently, quality ECE is not available to crores of young children, particularly children from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Strong investment in ECE has the potential to give all young children such access, enabling them to participate and flourish in the educational system throughout their lives. Universal provisioning of quality early childhood development care and education must thus be achieved as soon as possible, and no later than 2030 to ensure that all students entering grade 1 are school-ready. 1.2. ECE ideally consists of flexible, multifaceted, multi-level play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning comprising of alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, indoor and outdoor play, puzzles and logical thinking, problem-solving, drawing, painting and other visual art, craft, drama and puppetry, music and movement. It also includes a focus on developing social capacities, sensitivity, good behavior, courtesy, ethics, personal and public cleanliness, teamwork, and cooperation. The overall aim of ECE will be to attain optimal outcomes in the domains of physical and motor development, cognitive development, socio-emotional ethical development, cultural/artistic development, and the development of communication and early language literacy and numeracy. 1.3. A national curricular and pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education (NCEPs) for children up to the age of 8 will be developed by NCET in two parts, namely a sub-framework for 0 to 3-year-olds and a sub-framework for 3 to 8-year-olds aligned with the above guidelines, the latest research on ECE, and national and international best practices. In particular, the numerous rich local traditions of India developed over millennia in ECE involving art, stories, poetry, games, songs and more will also be suitably incorporated. The framework will serve as a guide both for parents and for early childhood care and education institutions. 1.4. The overarching goal will be to ensure universal access to high-quality ECE across the country in a phased manner. Special attention and priority will be given to districts and locations that are particularly socio-economically disadvantaged. ECE shall be delivered through a significantly expanded and strengthened system of early childhood education institutions consisting of a stand-alone Anganwadis, B Anganwadis co-located with primary schools, C pre-primary schools/sections, covering at least age 5 to 6 years co-located with existing primary schools, and D standalone preschools, all of which would recruit workers/teachers specially trained in the curriculum and pedagogy of ECE. 1.5. For universal access to ECE, Anganwadi centers will be strengthened with high-quality infrastructure, play equipment, and well-trained Anganwadi workers/teachers. Every Anganwadi will have a well-ventilated, well-designed, child-friendly and well-constructed building, with an enriched learning environment. Children in Anganwadi centers shall take activity-filled tours, and meet the teachers and students of their local primary schools, in order to make the transition from Anganwadi centers to primary schools a smooth one. Anganwadis shall be fully integrated into school complexes/clusters, and Anganwadi children, parents and teachers will be invited to attend and participate in school complex programs and vice versa. 1.6. It is envisaged that prior to the age of 5 every child will move to a preparatory class or Balavatika, that is before class 1, which has an ECE qualified teacher. The learning in the preparatory class shall be based primarily on play-based learning with a focus on developing cognitive, affective and psychomotor abilities and early literacy and numeracy. The mid-7. National Education Policy 2020 Day Meal Program shall also be extended to the preparatory classes in primary schools. Health checkups and growth monitoring that are available in the Anganwadi system shall also be made available to preparatory class students of Anganwadi as well as of primary schools. 1.7. To prepare an initial cadre of high-quality ECE teachers in Anganwadis, current Anganwadi workers/teachers will be trained through a systematic effort in accordance with the curricular/pedagogical framework developed by NCET. Anganwadi workers/teachers with qualifications of 10+2 and above shall be given a 6-month certificate program in ECE, and those with lower educational qualifications shall be given a 1-year diploma program covering early literacy, numeracy, and other relevant aspects of ECE. These programs may be run through digital/distance mode using DEEF channels as well as smartphones, allowing teachers to acquire ECE qualifications with minimal disruption to their current work. The ECE training of Anganwadi workers/teachers will be mentored by the cluster resource centers of the school education department, which shall hold at least 1 monthly contact class for continuous assessment. In the longer term, state governments shall prepare cadres of professionally qualified educators for early childhood care and education through stage-specific professional training, mentoring mechanisms, and career mapping. Necessary facilities will also be created for the initial professional preparation of these educators and their continuous professional development (CPD). 1.8. ECE will also be introduced in ashramshalas in tribal-dominated areas and in all formats of alternative schooling in a phased manner. The process for integration and implementation of ECE in ashramshalas and alternative schooling will be similar to that detailed above. 1.9. The responsibility for EK curriculum and pedagogy will lie with MHRD to ensure its continuity from pre-primary school through primary school, and to ensure due attention to the foundational aspects of education. The planning and implementation of early childhood care and education curriculum will be carried out jointly by the Ministries of HRD, Women and Child Development WCD, Health and Family Welfare HFW, and Tribal Affairs. A special joint task force will be constituted for continuous guidance of the smooth integration of early childhood care and education into school education. 2. Foundational literacy and numeracy, an urgent and necessary prerequisite to learning. 2.1. The ability to read and write, and perform basic operations with numbers, is a necessary foundation and an indispensable prerequisite for all future schooling and lifelong learning. However, various governmental as well as non-governmental surveys indicate that we are currently in a learning crisis. A large proportion of students currently in elementary school, estimated to be over 5 crore in number, have not attained foundational literacy and numeracy, i.e., the ability to read and comprehend basic text and the ability to carry out basic addition and subtraction with Indian numerals. 2.2. Attaining foundational literacy and numeracy for all children will thus become an urgent national mission, with immediate measures to be taken on many fronts and with clear goals that will be attained in the short term, including that every student will attain foundational literacy and numeracy by grade 3. The highest priority of the education system will be to achieve universal foundational literacy and numeracy in primary school by 2025. The rest of this policy will become relevant for our students only if this most basic learning requirement, i.e. reading, writing and arithmetic at the foundational level, is first achieved. To this end, a national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy will be set up by the Ministry of Human Resource Development (MHRD) on priority. Accordingly, all state/up governments will immediately prepare an implementation plan for attaining universal foundational literacy and numeracy in all primary schools, identifying stage-wise targets and goals to be achieved by 2025 and closely tracking and monitoring progress of the same. 2.3. First, teacher vacancies will be filled at the earliest in a time-bound manner, especially in disadvantaged areas and areas with large pupil-to-teacher ratios or high rates of illiteracy. Special 8. National Education Policy 2020 attention will be given to employing local teachers or those with familiarity with local languages. A pupil-teacher ratio (PTR) of under 31 will be ensured at the level of each school. Areas having large numbers of socio-economically disadvantaged students will aim for a PTR of under 25:1. Teachers will be trained, encouraged and supported with continuous professional development to impart foundational literacy and numeracy. 2.4. On the curricular side, there will be an increased focus on foundational literacy and numeracy, and generally on reading, writing, speaking, counting, arithmetic and mathematical thinking throughout the preparatory and middle school curriculum, with a robust system of continuous formative/adaptive assessment to track and thereby individualize and ensure each student's learning. Specific hours daily and regular events over the year and activities involving these subjects will be dedicated to encourage and infuse students. Teacher education and the early grade curriculum will be redesigned to have a renewed emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy. 2.5. Currently, with the lack of universal access to EK, a large proportion of children already fall behind within the first few weeks of grade 1. Thus, to ensure that all students are school-ready, an interim 3-month play-based school preparation module for all grade 1 students, consisting of activities and workbooks around the learning of alphabets, sounds, words, colors, shapes and numbers, and involving collaborations with peers and parents, will be developed by INSET and CERTS. 2.6. A national repository of high-quality resources on foundational literacy and numeracy will be made available on the digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing Diksha. Technological interventions to serve as aids to teachers and to help bridge any language barriers that may exist between teachers and students will be piloted and implemented. 2.7. Due to the scale of the current learning crisis, all viable methods will be explored to support teachers in the mission of attaining universal foundational literacy and numeracy. Studies around the world show one-on-one peer tutoring to be extremely effective for learning, not just for the learner, but also for the tutor. Thus, peer tutoring can be taken up as a voluntary and joyful activity for fellow students under the supervision of trained teachers, and by taking due care of safety aspects. Additionally, it will also be made far easier for trained volunteers from both the local community and beyond to participate in this large-scale mission. Every literate member of the community could commit to teaching one student/person how to read. It would change the country's landscape very quickly. States may consider establishing innovative models to foster such peer tutoring and volunteer activities, as well as launch other programs to support learners in this nationwide mission to promote foundational literacy and numeracy. 2.8. Enjoyable and inspirational books for students at all levels will be developed, including through high-quality translation technology assisted as needed, in all local and Indian languages, and will be made available extensively in both school and local public libraries. Public and school libraries will be significantly expanded to build a culture of reading across the country. Digital libraries will also be established. School libraries will be set up particularly in villages to serve the community during non-school hours, and book clubs may meet in public/school libraries to further facilitate and promote widespread reading. A national book promotion policy will be formulated, and extensive initiatives will be undertaken to ensure the availability, accessibility, quality, and readership of books across geographies, languages, levels, and genres. 2.9. Children are unable to learn optimally when they are undernourished or unwell. Hence, the nutrition and health, including mental health of children, will be addressed through healthy meals, and the introduction of well-trained social workers, counselors, and community involvement into the schooling system. Furthermore, research shows that the morning hours after a nutritious breakfast can be particularly productive for the study of cognitively more demanding subjects, and hence these hours may be leveraged by providing a simple but energizing breakfast in addition to midday meals. In locations where hot meals are not possible, a simple but nutritious meal, e.g., groundnut/chana mixed with jaggery and or local fruits, may be provided. All school children shall undergo regular 9. National Education Policy 2020 health checkups, especially for 100% immunization in schools, and health cards will be issued to monitor the same. 3. Curtailing dropout rates and ensuring universal access to education at all levels. 3.1. One of the primary goals of the schooling system must be to ensure that children are enrolled in and are attending school. Through initiatives such as the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, now the Samagra Shiksha, and the Right to Education Act, India has made remarkable strides in recent years in attaining near universal enrollment in elementary education. However, the data for later grades indicates some serious issues in retaining children in the schooling system. The JER for grades 6 to 8 was 90.9%, while for grades 9 to 10 and 11 to 12 it was only 79.3% and 56.5%, respectively, indicating that a significant proportion of enrolled students drop out after grade 5 and especially after grade 8. As per the 75th round household survey by ENSO in 2017-18, the number of out-of-school children in the age group of 6 to 17 years is 3.22 crore. It will be a top priority to bring these children back into the educational fold as early as possible and to prevent further students from dropping out, with a goal to achieve 100% gross enrollment ratio in preschool to secondary level by 2030. A concerted national effort will be made to ensure universal access and afford opportunity to all children of the country to obtain quality holistic education, including vocational education from preschool to grade 12. 3.2. There are 2 overall initiatives that will be undertaken to bring children who have dropped out back to school and to prevent further children from dropping out. The first is to provide effective and sufficient infrastructure so that all students have access to safe and engaging school education at all levels from pre-primary school to grade 12. Besides providing regular trained teachers at each stage, special care shall be taken to ensure that no school remains deficient on infrastructure support. The credibility of government schools shall be re-established, and this will be attained by upgrading and enlarging the schools that already exist, building additional quality schools in areas where they do not exist, and providing safe and practical conveyances and or hostels, especially for the girl children, so that all children have the opportunity to attend a quality school and learn at the appropriate level. Alternative and innovative education centers will be put in place in cooperation with civil society to ensure that children of migrant laborers and other children who are dropping out of school due to various circumstances are brought back into mainstream education. 3.3. The second is to achieve universal participation in school by carefully tracking students, as well as their learning levels, in order to ensure that they are enrolled in and attending school and have suitable opportunities to catch up and re-enter school in case they have fallen behind or dropped out. For providing equitable and quality education from the foundational stage through grade 12 to all children up to the age of 18, suitable facilitating systems shall be put in place. Counselors or trained social workers connected to school complexes and teachers will continuously work with students and their parents and will travel through and engage with communities to ensure that all school-age children are attending and learning in school. Trained and qualified social workers from civil society organizations/departments of social justice and empowerment and government functionaries dealing with empowerment of persons with disabilities at the state and district level could be connected to schools through various innovative mechanisms adopted by state/art governments to help in carrying out this important work. 3.4. Once infrastructure and participation are in place, ensuring quality will be the key in retention of students, so that they, particularly girls and students from other socio-economically disadvantaged groups, do not lose interest in attending school. This will require a system of incentives for deploying teachers with knowledge of the local language to areas with high dropout rates, as well as overhauling the curriculum to make it more engaging and useful. 3.5. To facilitate learning for all students, with special emphasis on socio-economically disadvantaged groups. The scope of school education will be broadened to facilitate multiple pathways to learning involving both formal and non-formal education modes. Open and distance learning ODL programs offered by the National Institute of Open Schooling NIOS 10. National Education Policy 2020 and state open schools will be expanded and strengthened for meeting the learning needs of young people in India who are not able to attend a physical school. NIOS and state open schools will offer the following programs in addition to the present programs A, B, and C levels that are equivalent to grades 3, 5, and 8 of the formal school system, secondary education programs that are equivalent to grades 10 and 12, vocational education courses/programs, and adult literacy and life enrichment programs. States will be encouraged to develop these offerings in regional languages by establishing new/strengthening existing state institutes of open schooling SIOs. 3.6. To make it easier for both governments as well as non-governmental philanthropic organizations to build schools to encourage local variations on account of culture, geography, and demographics, and to allow alternative models of education, the requirements for schools will be made less restrictive. The focus will be to have less emphasis on input and greater emphasis on output, potential concerning desired learning outcomes. Regulations on inputs will be limited to certain areas as enumerated in Chapter 8. Other models for schools will also be piloted, such as public philanthropic partnerships. 3.7. Efforts will be made to involve community and alumni in volunteer efforts for enhancing learning by providing at schools one-on-one tutoring, the teaching of literacy, and holding of extra-help sessions, teaching support and guidance for educators, career guidance, and mentoring to students, etc. In this regard, the support of active and healthy senior citizens, school alumni, and local community members will be suitably garnered. Databases of literate volunteers, retired scientists/government/semi-government employees, alumni, and educators will be created for this purpose. 4. Curriculum and pedagogy in schools. Learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. Restructuring school curriculum and pedagogy in a new 5+3+3+4 design. 4.1. The curricular and pedagogical structure of school education will be reconfigured to make it responsive and relevant to the developmental needs and interests of learners at different stages of their development, corresponding to the age ranges of 3-8, 8-11, 11-14, and 14 to 18 years respectively. The curricular and pedagogical structure and the curricular framework for school education will therefore be guided by a 5+3+3+4 design consisting of the foundational stage in two parts, that is 3 years of Anganwadi/preschool plus 2 years in primary school in grades 1-2 both together covering ages 3-8, preparatory stage grades 3-5 covering ages 8-11, middle stage grades 6-8 covering ages 11-14 and secondary stage grades 9-12 in two phases, i.e. 9 and 10 in the first and 11 and 12 in the second, covering ages 14-18. 4.2. The foundational stage will consist of 5 years of flexible multi-level play/activity-based learning, and the curriculum and pedagogy of EK as mentioned in para 1.2. The preparatory stage will comprise 3 years of education building on the play discovery and activity-based pedagogical and curricular style of the foundational stage, and will also begin to incorporate some light textbooks, as well as aspects of more formal but interactive classroom learning, in order to lay a solid groundwork across subjects including reading, writing, speaking, physical education, art, languages, science, and mathematics. The middle stage will comprise 3 years of education building on the pedagogical and curricular style of the preparatory stage, but with the introduction of subject teachers for learning and discussion of the more abstract concepts in each subject that students will be ready for at this stage across the sciences, mathematics, arts, social sciences, and humanities. Experiential learning within each subject and explorations of relations among different subjects will be encouraged and emphasized despite the introduction of more specialized subjects and subject teachers. The secondary stage will comprise of 4 years of multidisciplinary study, building on the subject-oriented pedagogical and curricular style of the middle stage, but with greater depth, greater critical thinking, greater attention to life aspirations, and greater flexibility in student choice of subjects. In particular, students would continue to have the option of exiting after grade 10-11. National Education Policy 2020 and re-entering in the next phase to pursue vocational or any other courses available in grades 11-12, including at a more specialized school if so desired. 4.3. The above described stages are purely curricular and pedagogical, designed to optimize learning for students. Based on the cognitive development of children, they will inform the development of national and state curricula and teaching learning strategies at each stage, but parallel changes to physical infrastructure will not be required. Holistic development of learners. 4.4. The key overall thrust of curriculum and pedagogy reform across all stages will be to move the education system towards real understanding, and towards learning how to learn, and away from the culture of rote learning as is largely present today. The aim of education will not only be cognitive development, but also building character, and creating holistic and well-rounded individuals, equipped with the key 21st century
आज 21 तारीख है ना।